Are we going? Oh, as always, hello. We are live. Well, we're not live because we're recording these. So I don't know why I said we're live. But today for our interview for the lovely Sparkle and Thrive Summit, we have the lovely, and by the way, everybody, I do overuse the word lovely. I can't help myself. Yasmin Vorajee.
Yay!
So welcome. So I'm just going to, as always, I've got my pieces of paper because I have no memory anymore. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Yasmin and about her, just about her talk, and then we're going to get on and we're going to learn more, and we're also going to learn lots of things, because these are not just about me telling you about the summit. This is also about us learning a bit more about how we can grow our businesses without burning out, of course. So Yasmin is the #1 best-selling and you have to bear with me on this, award-winning author of Tiny Time Big Results: How to Run a Profitable 20-Hour Week Business. I love all of these sort of things. So Yasmin is a messaging coach and business strategy. Obviously, you'll be able to learn more about Yasmin during the summit and all of this, but I'm just reading out the summary. And she teaches solopreneurs how to craft powerful messages that resonate with their perfect fit client, design high-value offers that are dreamy to deliver. I love this. And build an automated marketing and sales system. She is the mom of 3 human babies, although from having just had a chat, they're not so little anymore. And the wife of an Irish farmer, and runs her thriving 4-hour-day business from her cozy home in rural Ireland, which sounds fabulous. And I love the fact that you like to cook a hearty lasagna and curl up with a good book. And in the summit, Yasmin is going to be sharing with us how to attract high-ticket clients with assets and automation. So a little teaser as always. So, onto my questions. So can you share a bit about your business journey and how you got to where you are today, please?
Yeah, sure. So thank you so much for having me on, Emma. It's a real pleasure. So I've been in business for nearly 13 years. I started my business back in 2012. I was made redundant from my corporate role. So I was in corporate for 12 years. Before that, I was vice president of leadership development. I was in training and coaching. So I've been doing training and coaching for the last 24 years now at this stage. And my eldest was only a year old at the time. So I was just telling Emma that he is now 14. And so it's quite funny to think of me starting the business when he was just a baby. And I started the business because I wanted to have the flexibility and the freedom. Like, I did not want to be a commuter mom. I didn't want to go to a big city to have to find the equivalent type of a job, because we're in rural Northwest Ireland. So I started the business and didn't have a clue what I was doing. Even though I'd worked in big business for 12 years, I did not have a clue about marketing, selling, anything really. So I kind of spent 12 years, 2 years in the wilderness, just literally making it up as I went along. Now I got clients, but I don't know how. I was like,
I love it.
Completely clueless. And it was actually quite interesting, because within the first couple of months starting the business, I had 2 miscarriages as well. So, it's so funny when I think of like a lot of the entrepreneurs and like the dude entrepreneurs, and I was sitting there going, I was having babies and miscarrying and trying to grow a business at the same time. And, I was literally just trying to grow a business and raise a family at the same time. Like, I've got 3 kids altogether. So they're 14, 11, and 8. And it was only in about 10 years ago when my daughter was born, and she was a few months old, and literally, like, they were only ever in crash for like 3 hours a day. And that's where Tiny Time Big Results came from, was because my son was in crash for 3 hours. My daughter wasn't in crash. I mean, they didn't go to crash until they were 18 months old. So I had them at home full time. So I had very limited time for the business. And I got to the point where I was really annoyed with myself and frustrated, because I was like, I have no time, I've no time, I've no time. And I just kind of went, well, you're never going to have more time. We wanted to have more kids. So I thought, how can I make this work? And that's really where the whole Tiny Time Big Results journey started. It was like, how can I make it happen so that it's not an obstacle, it's actually the opportunity. So that kind of started it all. I wrote my book and published it in 2018, which you can just see behind me there. And that is kind of like the book I really wish somebody had given to me when I first started. Do it this way. Focus on it this way. So it's funny, because even when I think about how I market now, I'm not talking to anybody except the former version of me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like kind of sitting there thinking, God, I was to do this all again, what would I do differently? And I kind of go, okay, so this is what I would tell you to do now. And so it's like, I'm just talking to me back then in the hope that that will be of value and use to other people as well.
It's so, well, not funny, but I love how it's all of our experiences, because, you know, doing these interviews, that's the theme that's coming across, is it's our experiences that are shaping our businesses, very much so. And then it's like, how can we translate that into helping those, as you say, that are following in our footsteps almost?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, how can I make it easier for other people? Because I was in that wilderness and not having a clue and not understanding about messaging, not understanding about marketing. And, you know, it's that whole thing around, you know, you feel like you're selling yourself. It's like, you're not, you're selling an offer. You know, it's not you that's on the line. And I think that's the problem, is that we make it very personal, that it's like, they said no to me. Well, no, they said no to the offer. And that's a completely different thing. And it's understanding, you know, even things like, you know, charge what you're worth. And I hate that advice, because I was like, oh, well, I'm priceless, you know. I was like, you couldn't afford me, you know, quite frankly. But I'm going to charge you according to the value that I'm going to create for you, you know. And so that's what we need to be thinking about. So it's about all the little things that really make a difference in your business, and we overcomplicate it massively. Like, ask me how I know. I'm queen of overcomplicating.
With you.
Exactly. You know, so you just think, oh God, how can I make this simpler? How can I make this easier?
And it's that whole thing, is it, as well, around the myths. There's so many myths about, and it's unpicking all of that, isn't it? So what leads us nicely on to, what advice would you give to someone feeling overwhelmed by the demands of growing their business?
I think my first thing would be, can you simplify it? Can you make this much easier for yourself? So I kind of have like 4 steps or 4 stages that I kind of talk people through. And the first stage is always the messaging. It's like, I think when we get overwhelmed, there's so much going on in our minds. And I kind of think, okay, let's get back to the basics, right? If you were building a house, you would have a solid foundation. You would build a solid foundation first. You wouldn't go out and start picking out your curtains or your blinds or any of those types of things, right? And if you did, then that's not the right way to do it.
Some wood, though.
It's some wood, exactly. Oh, I found this lovely lampshade and I think it would be perfect in our room. And it's like, okay, we've nothing there, no walls. So your message is going to be your first piece, really. And everything stems from that, and it's woven into everything as well. Because if you know what the problem is that you're solving for your ideal person, so who's your perfect fit client, then you kind of go, right, this is me. I am Yasmin, and I help solopreneurs, primarily coaches, consultants, experts, and I teach them how to run a profitable 20-hour-week business. Right. So boom, you know what it is I do, you know how I can help you, and you know who I work with. You know, so somebody comes to me and says, I'm in manufacturing. I'm like, I am not your woman, right?
Yeah.
And so that first piece is like, so get the messaging right. And then the second piece is, if you want to have that profitable 20-hour-week business, you've got to think about how you're delivering your offers. Because if you're selling by time, you are going to reach an income ceiling. So it's about leverage. How can you create offers that exchange value, not time? And that's going to be a huge part of your profitability. Because if you are like running yourself ragged because you're selling things at a price that does not make sense, you're trading a lot of time, it's not going to make sense, and you're going to burn out. Like you said at the beginning, we want to build businesses that don't involve burnout. So this is key. And then it's really about marketing and selling. So it's like, and I think a lot of people, certainly a lot of people that come to me, I can say like, so what marketing are you doing? And they're like, not much, you know. It's like almost under their breath that they're not doing the marketing. They're not showing up. They're not visible. So it's, okay, so what are you doing to tell people what it is that you're doing? And then are you asking for the sale? Like, it's those 4 things: your message, your offer, your marketing, and your selling. And of course there's nuances, and of course there's like a whole, that's the whole body of work that the Tiny Time Big Results is. But for me, it's just simplify it. Like, if you could get a blank piece of paper and just do like a little diagram and kind of go like, okay, let me look at my business. You know, if you find that there's like all these bits that you've added on, then you kind of go, okay, hold on a minute, I've overcomplicated it. And that's the fastest path to overwhelm.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But it's that whole, sometimes we do have to go on the journey to then simplify. but it's
Absolutely.
recognizing that, isn't it? And
It's just
so
like
what
writing a book. Like, because when I wrote my book, I had an editor to help me then,
then edit it
and
down? Yeah.
and that was such a powerful exercise, because actually she really helped me to frame my methodology in a more powerful way, because I couldn't see it.
No.
And that's why I think, a lot of people, like myself included, I work with coaches because they can help me to see things that I can't see for myself.
Yeah, and I'm exactly the same. I've recently been going back to coaches and different and having like strategy sessions with some different people, just to help me get out of my own head. And a periodic I'm a dabbler with mentors and stuff, but I don't see there's anything wrong with that, because different people will help you with different things at different points. And that's my whole philosophy is you can have 10 nutritionists in the same room, and at certain points it'll be for different people. So I think we've kind of probably covered some of this, but we'll still ask the question. So what tools, techniques or habits have been most effective for you in managing your time and energy?
I think one of the tactics or strategies, if you like, that has been the most instrumental for me as I've been having babies and doing a business is creating high value offers. I think that's been huge. So when people talk about attracting high ticket clients, I've been doing that since day one. I've been creating high ticket clients, and because the truth is, I don't need many of those clients in order to have a thriving business. And I sell low ticket, but I sell low ticket strategically, as a way for people to be able to get that taster of my work, and then that if it's the right thing, then they will upgrade. But hands down, if you said to me like low ticket versus high ticket, I'd be going high ticket every single day, because I want to do the deep work with my clients. I want to really get into their business. I really want to help them. And low ticket's great because it creates that, well, supposedly passive income, but nothing is truly passive.
No,
but
don't get me started on that. We could be here forever, and we're doing a short interview.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's not get into that. But the strategy around high ticket has been so powerful because it has allowed me to simplify what I'm doing. And so, my overheads are very low in comparison to like a brick and mortar business, so the things that I use primarily are like Zoom. That's like one of my staples. I use a CRM called Gold Star Pro, which is, if for those of you that are not familiar, it's a white label version of Go High Level. So I used to use Infusionsoft, and I used it for a decade, and then it got super expensive. And for what it was,
yeah, again, don't get me started. But a lot of those systems have gone that way.
Yeah, they're too much. And so this system, I love this system. It's so easy to use, and in comparison. And really it's things like, I'm trying to think like of my monthly outgoings. It's like, using like my website hosting, memberships that I might be part of, but my actual overheads are very low, so I can have a higher profit margin. Because for me, I'm just like, how can I keep this simple? I've got 3 kids. I work 3 to 4 hours a day. I don't want to have this big machine. And that's part of what I talk about a lot, is you want to have systems and automation and digital assets that you build that do the pre-selling for you. So that for example, if somebody's watching this and they go onto my website, there is so much content for them to get their teeth into, whether it's my podcast, whether it's my book, whether it's my blogs, that they are going to get a real sense of whether they like me, whether they like my style, my personality. And I'm not involved in any of that, because that's all being done. And that's massive leverage, because you're not sitting there going, oh my God, I have to be on social media for hours and hours and end, right? This is the beauty. When you pre-sell, then it actually makes the selling selling time much shorter, because somebody will know, you kind of go, oh God, I can't stand her voice. They just kind of go back off, or they kind of go, oh, I love this, I want to be part of this, and they'll know pretty quickly.
Yeah. So how do you decide what to say no to, or where to focus your efforts in your business?
Oh, this is a really good question. I know. I've had so much trouble saying no in the past. I'll be like, oh my God.
Everyone I'm interviewing, exactly the same. I'm like, this is a fab question.
You're like, oh my God, how do I know when to say no?
I think we're all a work in progress on it as well.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like kind of going, okay, because even now when I kind of think, oh, I could do this, this like, bright shiny object suddenly pops up, and I will go back to myself and ask myself those questions of, does this fit in with your strategy? Does this fit in with the goals that you have? And what's tended to happen for me personally is, if something's not working, I won't dig in deep to kind of go, why is that not working? I'll go, oh, I'll do this. And that's been a really hard lesson for me, because it's meant that I've, and like I was actually just wrote an email to my list about this morning, about sticking with things. It's like, if you post once and nobody buys, and then you go, oh, it's not working, and off you go and do something else, right? I've done that so much. Now I've created a ton of courses and content and low ticket offers as a consequence, but that has come at the expense of taking me away from the bigger strategy. And so now I'm like so much more like, okay, are you falling into your old pattern? So it's that level of self-awareness where you kind of go, am I doing this because it actually furthers my strategy and my goals, or is this a distraction? And I think it's asking yourself those tough questions.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. I am also a recovering, trying to work out all these courses and stuff that I've created, bringing them together. And also asking myself that very question.
I've got all these courses now and things, but you just, you kind of at some stage you kind of just have to go, okay, hold on a minute, what are you trying to do here? Because ultimately it's lost opportunity. That's the problem. It's like, all that time that you've taken away, what could you have done with that?
Yeah. So learn from us. So what one small but powerful step, I always read this question wrong. What's one small but powerful step that someone can take today to start building their sustainable business?
Great question. I think for me, I would say go back and look at your message, right? Is it clear what you do and who you do it for? Because if you are clear on that, and every time you do a video, every time you do a post, every time you do a blog, whatever it might be, and that just rolls off your tongue like it's second nature, then you've already got a solid foundation, right? And then it's about building on that, because messaging is not just that I help statement, it's about everything and how you talk about what you do. But I would say that that's the first place that I would start, is go and look at your messaging. Is it full of jargon? Is it vague? Is it generic? And if you're kind of going, oh God, yeah, would somebody else, if you were in a lineup with like 10 people who all doing similar things, would you stand out? And if you don't, then you kind of go, okay, so how can I differentiate myself more? We're not saying that you have to be, and this is the thing, that you don't have to appeal to the masses. You're just here for your perfect fit client. And so I want you to think about that. And, use what I do is talk to your former self. If you find it hard to kind of go, well, who is my perfect fit client? Like, does she have red hair? Does she have, is she blonde? Does she wear glasses? And you kind of get all tied up into who this person is. And when I write my emails, if I write to my former self, I write from a deeper place. I write more intimately because I'm talking to myself. And then that feels like it resonates more powerfully with my audience anyway.
I think that's really good advice. It's that my whole thing is that, so how do you get that human touch? Because we are talking to people, no matter where we are, we're online, we're doing all of this, but at the end of it, and we can talk, there's so many different ways to think of that, our whole ideal client and all of that kind of thing. But the reason everybody waffles on about it is because that helps your brain. That's what I'm always talking about, is it's about our brain being able to relate to it. And I love that that's one way of doing it, isn't it? Is to go, right, actually, a lot of what you might do is relating to where I was, connecting to that energy and into that person, because that can feel a bit more powerful and known if you're kind of not. I love that. That's brilliant. Well, thank you, Yasmin. That was fabulous. And obviously you'll be able to catch up with Yasmin at the Sparkle and Thrive Summit. And if you're watching this, please do obviously connect with Yasmin and let us know your key takeaways from today's interview. And we will see you at the summit, hopefully, or around on wherever you might be accessing this. So have a lovely day, everybody, and I will see you soon.
Thank you.